Before we get deep into this, if you care about serious evidence-based survival history and you want content that respects the intelligence of historians and preparedness-minded viewers, subscribe to the Legacy of Survival channel and share this episode with someone who understands that history is not entertainment, it's instruction. Now, let me earn the next minute of your attention. Winter has always been the great equalizer. In World War II, it didn't matter how modern your weapons were, how confident your commanders felt, or how long your supply lines looked on paper. When temperatures dropped, power failed, fuel froze, logistics collapsed, and men either adapted or suffered. Today, when a winter storm knocks out the grid, we face a quieter version of the same problem. The lessons aren't theoretical. They were paid for in frostbite, starvation, and death. If you understand what armies learned the hard way between 1939 and 1945, you can ride out modern power outages with calm, competence, and control. How World War II taught armies that cold kills faster than the enemy. The Eastern Front made one truth unavoidable: cold destroys unprepared systems. The Wehrmacht entered the Soviet Union expecting a fast campaign and found itself immobilized by frozen lubricants, brittle metal, and soldiers without proper insulation. The Red Army survived not because winter was gentle, but because they planned for it culturally and logistically. They layered clothing, protected extremities, and prioritized shelter over movement during severe cold snaps. The lesson for modern outages is simple and brutal. Heat loss is your primary enemy. Your first priority is not light, entertainment, or even food variety. It is stopping heat from leaving your body and your living space. During a blackout, concentrate your living area to 1 or 2 rooms, block drafts with fabric, cardboard or furniture, and layer clothing the same way soldiers did. Thin layers trap air. Heavy single layers do not. This is physics, not nostalgia. Why, you might wonder, did fuel discipline matter even more than simply having enough fuel? Well, during the Second World War, armies quickly learned that just possessing fuel and actually wasting it could honestly end up being the same thing. Engines were only run when absolutely necessary, stoves were shared among many, and heating schedules were strictly enforced. The British Army in particular was almost obsessive about rationing solid fuel in those harsh winter camps, issuing very strict usage times and insisting on communal heating spaces. In a modern power outage, the very same principle applies, whether you're relying on propane, firewood, kerosene, or battery banks. Don't chase comfort, chase sustainability. If you've got a heater, use it just to stabilize the temperature, not to overheat the room. And if you have power banks, well, reserve them for truly essential lighting and, perhaps, communication windows. A practical approach is to set fixed heating intervals, much like wartime units did, allowing the temperature to drop a little bit between cycles. This, in turn, prevents fuel panic and honestly extends your endurance far beyond what casual usage would ever allow. Now, let's talk about how wartime shelter design, surprisingly, still outperforms many modern assumptions. One of the quieter revelations of World War II winter warfare was that underground and semi-subterranean shelters actually outperformed exposed buildings by a fair margin. Bunkers, dugouts, and earth-covered huts maintained stable temperatures, you see, because soil is a natural insulator. Modern homes quite often forget this principle. During an outage, basements, interior rooms, and areas with minimal exterior walls really should become your primary living zones. Soldiers use snow itself as insulation, piling it against walls because snow traps air and blocks wind. You can apply this concept by stacking insulation, furniture, or even packed boxes against exterior-facing walls to reduce heat loss. The goal is not aesthetics, it is thermal efficiency. Why calories were treated as heating fuel. Armies learned that food was not just nutrition, it was body heat. High-fat, high-calorie rations were issued in winter because digestion generates warmth. Soldiers were encouraged to eat regularly, even when not hungry, to maintain metabolic heat. In modern outages, people often undereat because cooking feels inconvenient. This is a mistake. Simple, calorie-dense foods like oats, nuts, oils, and canned proteins provide warmth as much as energy. If you can heat water, prioritize warm meals and drinks. Even a cup of hot broth raises core temperature and morale. World War II diaries repeatedly mention hot liquid as psychologically stabilizing, not just physically useful. How routine prevented panic when systems failed. One of the most overlooked wartime survival tools was routine. Units maintained schedules even when conditions were brutal. Wake times, maintenance checks, meals and rest were structured because structure prevents mental collapse. During modern outages, households often drift into reactive chaos, checking phones constantly and making decisions emotionally. Instead, adopt a wartime mindset. Establish fixed times for checking updates, heating cycles, meals, and sleep. This conserves energy, reduces stress, and keeps decision-making rational. Soldiers who lost routine made mistakes. Civilians do too. Why redundancy mattered more than innovation. World War II survival did not depend on clever gadgets. It depended on backups. Multiple fire-starting methods, spare clothing layers, secondary shelters, and alternative food sources were standard. When one system failed, another took over. In modern terms, this means candles plus battery lights, manual can openers alongside electric ones, and non-electronic heating options if possible. Redundancy is not paranoia. It is historical best practice. How community survival outweighed individual toughness. No army survived winter alone. Shared labour, shared heat, shared food, and shared watch duties kept people alive. Even elite units collapse when isolated. In a modern outage, coordination with neighbours, family, or nearby friends mirrors this reality. Pooling resources, rotating heating spaces, or sharing cooking duties reduces individual strain. History shows that winter kills lone wolves faster than it kills groups. World War II. Winter preparation was not romantic. It was disciplined, uncomfortable, and deeply practical. These lessons are not relics, they are tools. Apply them, and modern power outages become manageable instead of terrifying. If this kind of historically grounded survival knowledge matters to you, subscribe to Legacy of Survival, share this episode with someone who takes preparedness seriously, and keep history alive by using it.